talk about postseason, I just can't help but, kind of reiterate what Fran has said about what this team did this year. And I think about our seniors, Bryce coming in, and then especially Matt. I watched him I've been here now, from his moment of commitment, going through coaching changes, and just watching him grow as a player and a person. I really admire all of our seniors, and in particular Matt. So just love the growth. And under Fran, I tell you that when we hired Fran, the expectation of taking this team and making it better quickly, I couldn't ask for more. So that's my starting point. Obviously, it's disappointing to lose today, but just thrilled with where we're headed under Fran. And we talked about some of the young players and some of the players coming in, so I'm excited about that. With postseason, we set our goals to be one of the top programs in the country. I think when we hired Fran, you heard us say we want to win the national championship. And we have a ways to go for that step. But on Sunday, they'll name the top 100 teams between the NCAA and the NIT. And that's been our focus, that we want to be one of the top 100 teams. Players never want to stop playing, coaches never want to stop coaching, but at some point you have to draw a line. And so we're going to wait for Sunday. I still think we are one of those top 100 teams. I've had a lot of conversations over the past couple of weeks. If you take a look at our wins over top 25 teams, if you take kind of the whole body of work into play, I'm confident we'll be one of those top 100 teams. But that's where you draw the line.
So the NIT would be the line, right?
I think if you look at ourselves, and I can't speak for every athletic director in the Big Ten, the Big 12, the SEC, but I think my thoughts are shared by most programs in the country, or at least some of the BCS schools, and that is we want to be one of the top programs in the country. You don't want to dilute. I think in bowl games, for example, I think you've all heard me say, I think there's too many bowl games. There was a big article today on the front page of the newspaper about college basketball and attendance. I think at some point you say this is where we're going to draw the line, and that's hard because you never want to stop playing. But we're going to Sunday night. We're going to hopefully accept a bid to the NIT and then start preparing for that.
So if it's not the NCAA or NIT, the CBI is completely out of the picture.
Well, I know there's the CBI. I know there's the CIT, and there may be even a couple of others. I know of two for sure. I don't know if we'll get an invitation specifically. I've certainly talked with some of those folks, but we're focusing on the NCAA, and it doesn't look like that's a possibility, so confident that we'll get a chance to go to the NIT. If not, you turn the page.
How much pressure is there from the Big Ten? No Big Ten team has ever played in one of those tournaments.
Well, no Big 12 team has ever played, no SEC team. Again, I can't speak for all the other athletic directors, but I think it's probably a similar focus, and that's our goal is to be among the top teams in the country, and hopefully we'll make that top 100 on Sunday night. If not, we'll start looking at next year.
At the same time, does this have nothing to do with HDNet being involved with the CBI?
Yeah, there's no mandate from the Big Ten.
At the same time, if there was benefit for the team to continue playing games, get some of the younger guys more action, you've got to weigh that, right?
Yeah, and that's one of the reasons we do a lot of preseason tournaments. We go to Cancun, or we go on occasion we go on foreign trips. So that when your new coming guys come in, there's a big benefit to the new group gelling with the guys that are coming back.
Your coaching staff in line with this, or would they rather play in one of those other tournaments?
Coaches always want to play as much as they can play, as do players. And but big picture, Fran and I are on the same page, no doubt.
The team does have a winning record, which hasn't happened there in 5 seasons. So that is one thing you can look at in big picture-wise, with a lot of young players playing significant
I'm thrilled. I'm so excited about where we're at. We're not there yet, but when you take a look at that Big Ten season in particular, I think if you look at our body of work, probably the only thing that hurts us is the preseason, the non-conference schedule. But from there forward, we really started to gel as a team. So I'm thrilled with where we're headed.
With the progress, is there a confidence in being able to schedule, as far as the non-conference, and get a higher level of competition in the preseason?
That's part of Fran's plan. He wants to. His goal. You heard him say it himself. His goal is to someday win a national championship at Iowa. We have some work to do to get there, but clearly he's on that path. And one of the things you have to do is you have to make sure your non-conference schedule is appropriate for the team that you have. And I think that's when you see non-conference schedule, strength of schedule going up, is as you get more comfortable with the student athletes you have coming back.
Is there a financial detriment to going to one of the CBI or CIT, or is that a part of it?
There's cost, but that wouldn't be one of my primary factors. There's cost if you go to the NIT as well. It's again just where do you draw the line? You never want to quit, but you have to draw the line somewhere, and we'd like to make that top 100.
You mentioned primary factors. What are some of those?
Well, the primary factor is we've set our goals, and we're trying to be one of the best teams in the country, and top 100 is what will be determined Sunday night. And then after that, just, do you keep playing? When do you stop? And that's where we've decided to stop.
Do you have a similar belief with, say, a 6-6 football team? I know they made a bowl and that's not one of the top 50 teams, for instance, in college football.
Yeah, there's a lot of talk right now about having to be 7-5 with a 12-game season, and I'm one of the leaders of that discussion. That I really want to see, in a bowl sense, I'd love to see 7-5 teams. But it goes back to that front page story in the USA Today. I love college basketball. I don't think, if you look at the numbers that are going to come in terms of attendance being down, I think it's unfair to make it sound like it's apocalyptic, because I think it's down a little bit, but I don't think it's down as much. I just don't want to see the sport, because there's so many opportunities on television now. We've seen Carver, on the flip side of that, we've seen Carver come back to life, and that's a credit to Fran and the guys. But at what point is it too much?
Do you have a gauge on whether it's NIT, CBI, whatever, the chances of a home game?
The only tournament that you put a bid in for a home game is the NIT, and we put in an aggressive bid. And I think that depending on who we would get matched up with or where our seed would be, we can show that 2 years of growth in Carver. We can show the number of people that were there during the regular season. Hopefully that would factor into it.
But the NIT is not about any of that. It's a seeded tournament.
Good point. It used to be in the old days. It used to be a bidding war. You would go in, and whoever bid the most would get into the NIT and host. I like it much better the way it is now, and that's the first 68 teams are selected, and then the next 32 are selected by the NIT group, and it's not based on your bid, although a bid is required. So that you have to go in and say, here's been our average attendance, here's the amount of money here's what we would charge for ticket prices. But my understanding is, and I believe it, that it's not a factor in whether or not you're selected. It may be a factor in whether or not you host, but it's not a matter of whether or not you're selected.
So if you do get selected to NIT, but you have to go on the road for the first game, you're willing to accept that?
Yes.